Welcome back to the Bigger Than Birth podcast, where we're celebrating bigger bodies and beautiful births. I'm your host, Victoria Gaba, and each week we will be bringing you the real stories of plus-size moms as they share their journey through fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. These stories highlight what it's like to navigate through this experience as a woman in a bigger body in hopes of creating representation for plus-size moms, both present and future. Thank you for being part of this community as we share these stories that are so much bigger than birth. Hi everyone, welcome to today's show. Today we get to sit down with Jade as she shares her story navigating having 2 babies in 2 years and the experience going through the UK health system as a plus-size mom. In her first pregnancy, Jade shares how she continued to decline unnecessary induction recommendations and trusting her body to go into spontaneous labor. She did in fact go into labor spontaneously and was able to have a super fast vaginal delivery only using gas and air. During her second pregnancy, she faced a new challenge as she was diagnosed with gestational diabetes. After being told that condition meant an automatic C-section, Jade decided to take the research and care into her own hands. Through her own independent research, Jade was able to track and manage her blood sugars through completely diet-controlled protocol. Continuing to have a healthy pregnancy, Jade was able to give birth vaginally in a non-clinical midwifery care-led unit. Jade also shares how the gestational diabetes diagnosis led her onto her own passion project, helping other moms control their gestational diabetes through a daily planner. Jade's story provides an essential look into how plus-size pregnancies can look different each time, and even with new diagnosis, it doesn't mean you can't have a beautiful pregnancy. I hope you guys enjoy our friend from across the pond, and here's Jade. Hey Jade, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are super excited to have you. So before we get started, I'll just have you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your family and where y'all are from.
So I'm Jade. I am 27, nearly 28, and we are from a little town in England called Dudley. It's the Black Country, so everyone knows it as where Peaky Blinders was filmed, for any Peaky Blinders fans out there. Yeah, I've got a 2-year-old boy and a 5-month-old girl, so I did the whole 2 babies in 2 years thing. Yeah, and that is pretty much just me. I'm currently on maternity leave, just enjoying life.
And I know y'all's maternity leave is a little bit different than ours, so we will get into that as well. But let's start with your first. So were y'all planning to conceive when y'all did?
Yes. So I just got a promotion at work, and there's no right time to have a baby, is there? So I was like, right, okay. I did my job for a couple of months, and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to start trying for a baby now. And we fell pregnant so quick. I think we were pregnant within the first 2 tries, and that was literally within like 2 weeks of trying. And it's like, wow, okay, that happened quicker than I thought.
That's great. So were you concerned? I know sometimes there's a stigma around being plus size and, it might affect fertility or anything. So were you surprised when you did become pregnant that quickly?
I was and I wasn't. So we didn't use any birth control for quite a long time. So I wasn't worried about sort of having to come off like my contraception and then being like, oh, is it going to happen as quick as I want it to? So I wasn't worried. I think the part of you that does worry is because you've got no idea whether you can actually have kids or not until it actually happens. So I was just shocked at how quickly I managed to fall pregnant.
So talk us through finding out, did you have symptoms or did you just miss a period? Were your periods pretty regular at that point?
I'm going to sound absolutely nuts when I say this, right? We'd been out to my friend's 50th birthday the night before. So I'd been out, I'd had a couple of gins, quite a lot of gin. Didn't even cross my mind. We went to bed that night. I had a dream. My nan, who passed away in 2020, she came to me in a dream and she was like, "You're pregnant." I woke up and I was like, "I'm pregnant." And he's like, "What do you mean you're pregnant?" I was like, "I am definitely pregnant." I did a test. I was like, "Yeah, I'm pregnant." He was listening to Fleetwood Mac out on the stairs. And I was like, "Look, I'm definitely pregnant. Like, it's actually happening." And we had our hangover McDonald's and just sat on it for a day and was like, wow, okay, that happened quicker than we thought.
That's such a special way. I've heard that before of like people having past loved ones come and like that's kind of how they found out. So that is so cool to meet someone that's actually happened to. So once y'all sat on it for a day or two, were you like, okay, let's dive into this? This is really real. Talk us through the early stages of medical care. I know in Great Britain, obviously, it's a little bit different than here. So talk us through kind of what that looked like for you.
So I had no idea what to do next. I was like, right, okay, found out I'm pregnant. Now what? So I went on to good old Google, as you do. It was like, okay, contact your GP and just let them know. So I went online, did my medical form, and then was just like, I think my Clear Blue said 2 to 3 weeks pregnant. I was like, okay, I think I'm 2 to 3 weeks pregnant. Can I book an appointment? Just waited. That came back. Booked me a midwife appointment, and I think I should remember because I've only done it recently. I'm pretty sure you get your 10 week appointment. So that is such a long time to have to wait. So you're sitting on it. Was it 10 or 8? Either way, it was either 8 or 10. Bearing in mind, I thought I was only about 2 to 3 weeks pregnant. That is so early on, isn't it? So I'm sitting on it thinking, okay, just sit and wait. You don't tell anyone yet, do you? Because you can do, but we didn't. So I was sitting on it, finally got my appointment with my midwife. And my midwife, I had the same midwife both times, just for like my doctor's appointments and stuff. She was incredible. I cannot praise her enough. Her name is Shelley, and she works for the Black Country NHS. She was absolutely amazing. Every single decision I ever had to make, or everything I pushed back against, or any question I had, she supported me 100%. She was just amazing. I cannot give her enough praise. And I'm so sad that I'll probably never see her again because I don't think I'm going to have any more.
Yeah. So was your GP able to confirm the pregnancy, or it was that first midwife appointment that you were in to see a doctor or professional at all?
So you go in to see your midwife. They do your obs, so they do your blood pressure. They ask you loads of questions, and I had no idea this was coming. So it's like, what do you do for work? Where do you work? Because obviously they need to find out if you're working with like controlled substances and stuff. I'm pretty sure they do a wee sample just to double check that you are pregnant. Um, I think that's all it is, but it's just such a lengthy appointment. And then you get your little can't remember if I got my booklet then, but remember you get your appointments through sort of your scan. That's the big one, isn't it? Your 12-week scan. I don't know how it works out there, but they book you in for your 12-week scan. It's like, oh, we can tell people now we've got a little picture to show everybody.
Yep, very exciting getting to see the heartbeat and everything for the first time. So, when you go through that process, do you automatically get assigned into the midwifery model of care? Or, I guess, if you're high risk or considered have other issues, is that when you go straight to see like an OB?
So I was never told I was a high risk pregnancy because of my weight. And that wasn't my midwife's fault. She just put me under sort of standard consultant led care. It wasn't until I was about 36 weeks pregnant that I knew I was consultant led. Because I went to a birthing class and they went round everybody and they were like, "Oh, are you going to birth on the midwifery unit or are you going to birth on the obstetric unit?" And I was like, "Oh, midwifery." She was like, "Oh, are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I've got you down as high risk." I was like, "Oh, okay." That explains some of the extra scans that I've had. No one explains that to you. The extra growth scans. With my first pregnancy, it was standard. So I was going to all these extra scans and stuff, not realizing that I was high risk because of my BMI and my weight.
Honestly, I feel like that might be a good thing. It's not good that you find out that at like the very end, but just kind of like, I know some people get in their head about that label of, oh, you're high risk, even though there's not really much going on. It's not like a huge medical condition like some other moms may have.
Mhm.
So not knowing that probably, especially for the first, is probably like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a shock. I mean, I'm very laid back, luckily. I wasn't worried. And I'm very sort of in tune with my body. So I was very aware that actually I know my baby's okay. I feel okay. My first pregnancy was absolutely brilliant. If I didn't know I was pregnant, I don't think I'd have known. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't sick. I didn't have any issues. I had some pelvic girdle pain, but that was like towards the end. That's to be expected. But that was all I had. It was just a brilliant pregnancy.
Were you diagnosed with gestational diabetes during that first pregnancy?
Nope. In my first pregnancy, nothing. No gestational diabetes, which is funny because I was actually heavier that time round.
And so do they still make you do, like, the glucose drink? Did you have to do it just once, or did they make you do it multiple times?
So, first pregnancy, did the glucose test because of my weight. I think we do it at about 24 weeks, I wanna say. Passed it, absolutely fine. They didn't give me, like, my readings or anything, but I never heard back from them, so I didn't have it. So, I was winning with that one.
So talk us through as you kind of get towards the end with finding out now that you might not be delivering with the model of care that you thought you would. How did those conversations go? And how did that end part of pregnancy go for you?
So, I spoke with my midwife about sort of what I wanted, and this was in 2023. When I tell you my next birth story, you'll see that a lot has changed since then. Um, and it was pretty much you'll deliver on the obstetric unit. That's just the way it is. You may be able to have a water birth if the I think it's telemetry, the wireless read of the baby, if that's available. But we've only got one waterproof one. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like it is what it is. I'll see what it's like when I get there. Because obviously you don't know when you're going to go into labour.
So did you go into spontaneous labor?
Well, he was due on the 24th of September. I was pestered by my consultant for a week to be induced. Might have been longer than that. I think it was about 2 weeks. He would not leave me alone. So it was, you've got to be induced. No, this is your option. Like, these are your options. What would you like to do? You've got to be induced. Okay. Why? Your placenta stopped working. What? I've just been in for a scan in the next room, and she's literally showing me like the placenta pulsating, making sure it's all working properly. So I was about 38 or 39 weeks pregnant at this point. And I said to him, I said, well, I've just seen it working on the screen in there. My sonographer had no issues whatsoever. No, 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 you've got to be induced. Your placenta's not working. Your baby's growth has tailed. So he's not growing as he should be. Okay. So what should he weigh then? Well, we don't know. Every baby's different. I was like, oh, okay. Whatever. But I said, no, I said, I'm not being induced. I said, I don't want that for myself. I understand that there's obviously medical reasons, but I didn't believe with the information that I'd had, I made an informed decision. I didn't think I needed it. And I was so glad that I went with my gut and that I didn't do it.
That is great, and just such a lesson in, like, you can absolutely advocate for yourself, especially when it's not just a whim. Like you said, you had the information, you
Mhm.
just saw everything was going fine. So being able to give that pushback, and that is so hard when they give you this like adamant, it's absolutely not working. Like there's
Mhm.
no way to 100% know that unless it is showing on the scans that there is an issue or something like that. So for him to just try to kind of strong arm you into that was not
Yeah.
okay. So you trusted your gut, you decided against the induction. Talk us through the next steps. Did you end up going, or did he just keep pestering you for the induction?
Well, because I refused to go for induction, I then had to go every day for a CTG. So I was up that hospital every single day. Luckily, I only live 5 minutes down the road from the hospital. So that was fine. Didn't mind that so much. Um, and then I went one of the days. It was the second day. So it's the day after he told me that I must be induced. I went there. They were like, oh, okay. We're not getting very good readings from baby. But she said it's the way that she'd positioned the CTG machine. So I was like, okay. She said, I want you to go up to triage and get checked out. So I was like, that's fine. But I got to triage and they put my wristband on with my name and everything on, my date of birth. And I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. I'm on my own. My partner's at work. My mum waited downstairs, like in the hospital for me because she didn't think they were going to try and keep me in. They were like, we're going to go and get the consultant to come and speak to you because you need to be induced. I'm there thinking, I've got nothing with me. I've got no bag. My partner's at work. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not staying. Consultant comes up, different consultant this time. It's a female consultant. And I think when it comes to midwifery care, if you have a female consultant, it changes everything, especially a female consultant that's had a baby. But she was lovely. She's like, I've got no concerns. She's like, you, at this point, I think I was 39 and 4. And she says, I've got no concerns. You don't need to stay in and be induced. It's completely up to you. I was like, all right, lovely, thanks, I'll go then. So off I toddled, went back the next day. The male consultant comes in. I'm in the day unit getting assessed again. He goes round every woman in that day unit. You've got to be induced. You've got to be induced. You've got to be induced.
Oh my
6 beds in
gosh.
there. And he told every woman that they'd got to be induced. And I was the only one that pushed back and asked why. I don't know what happened on them when those other ladies' journeys. But were they all induced? Did they have their babies earlier than they needed to? They weren't all plus size women. It was a variety of women. I don't know their stories. So maybe they did need inducting. I don't know. But I ended up agreeing in the end because I just had enough. I wanted this baby out. I wanted to just feel normal again. And I agreed to be induced on the 23rd of September. So I don't know how it works in America. Well, I rang up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, okay, I've been told I need to ring. I'm due to be induced. Great. Come up at 5 p.m. Okay. That's a long time to wait when you're waiting for something as scary as that. 11 o'clock, I started having contractions at home on my own. I'm like, oh, something's happening. Really sporadic, on and off. I'd had no signs of labour at all. I'd had a sweep like a week before, nothing had happened. And I'd started contracting on my own, really sporadically. Nothing was coming of them. And then we got to the hospital. And obviously, the oxytocin stops flowing. Everything stops. I'm there like, I have been having contractions. And I think they think I'm lying at this point. I'm like, I have been having contractions. And they're like, okay. They take my bloods, which I didn't know. No one tells you that. I don't know how it works out there. She took my bloods again. I was like, whoa, what are you doing? She did my bloods and I just sat and waited. I was in this lovely room, got a birthing pool. It got pretty lights on the ceiling. It was the midwifery-led unit. They didn't tell me that, did they? So I'm there thinking, right, okay, I think this is my room that I'm going to give birth in. My partner gets all my candles out, all my fairy lights, puts the music on. They're like, oh, we're moving you to that room over there. Okay, that's fine. I didn't know that was just a holding room, like a holding pen like cattle, just keeping me there.
Would have been nice for someone to say that. Like, we're trying to unpack here.
And they kept me in there. And that's when I actually started having proper contractions because it's probably about 10 o'clock on the night when I was in there. All the lights were off. Obviously, you're getting tired. I put my fairy lights up because I knew I was going to be in there for a while now. Put the music on. I had a student midwife at this point because they didn't think anything was happening. So she just used to come in and check on me every now and again. She's like, oh, you okay? I'd be like, oh, yeah, like, I think it's starting to get a bit bad now. Like, she's like, okay. She didn't believe me, I could tell. So it starts to get really bad. My other half's asleep on like the big mats for the birthing pool. I said to him, I was like, you might as well go to sleep. You can't do anything. I sit in the toilet. And bearing in mind, before this, I was told you can't have a water birth. You're not allowed one. Your BMI is too high. Oh, right, okay. I was told it would be an option as long as I had like telemetry. No. This is broken. That machine's broken. Oh, that's convenient. Yeah, you can't have your birth. Right, okay. I obviously got really upset because I thought I'd have a shot at it. I cried and she put in my birth notes. I've read them after. Jade teary, left to consult with partner. I was like, yes, Jade was teary. She was in labour.
So were they happy for you to labor in the water? Or they were saying you weren't able to get in the
We'll
water
go
at
in there
all?
at all.
Oh, wow.
Because my BMI was so high. Well, it wasn't even that high. But it was the higher end of what they wanted it to be. It was, you can't do that. But then I argued back, well, if a taller woman come in and she weighed the same as me, her BMI would be different. So what difference does that make? No. Because I'm only 5'2". But if you had a 6-foot woman come in and she weighed the same as me, her BMI wouldn't be as high as mine. And that was my argument. Oh, well, the machine's broke. I thought, oh, well, that's convenient, isn't it? She was the lead midwife. The lead midwife of my first wasn't very nice. She was really blunt. She was really rude. So she goes out the room. Our student midwife's still there. "Oh, would you like some paracetamol?" I thought, "Whatever, I'll take something else. I'll take it at this point. I'll have a bit of paracetamol, a bit of codeine." No one tells you codeine makes you constipated. I didn't know that. So I took it, didn't think anything. I'm sat on the toilet in my room, running my hand under the cold tap, as cold as I can stand it, to take my mind off the pain, because that's all I could think to do. And I was just rotating. I was going bed, bathroom, hand under the tap. I flung the window open. I'll never forget the weather that night. It was cold, wet, and rainy. Considering it was only September, it was horrendous. I'm there, hanging out the window. My other half's like, "Can you shut that window? I'm freezing." I'm thinking, hang on a
You're
minute.
like, "Get out of here."
I'm about to give birth. I don't, I'm in labour. And you want me to shut the window because you're cold? I was like, "No." I woke him up then. I thought, right, you're going to have to wake up. So I don't feel very good. Something's happening here. I wake him up. I'm like, babe, I want the gas and air, but I'm scared I'm going to be sick when I have it. Can you wake up? A buzzer. I'm like, can I have the gas and air? And she's like, "Oh, let me just check you and see how dilated you are." So she does my cervical check, and I'm like, "Okay, right, you can do that." She checks me. She's like, "Oh, you're 4 centimeters dilated. Better get you down to the delivery suite." And I didn't think that it was happening that quick. She's like, "Yeah, you're 4 centimeters." I walk from my room to the delivery suite. Tina, the lead midwife's there. She went, "Oh, you're going quickly, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I am. I am actually. I'm in
Yeah.
labour."
Yeah, thanks, Tina.
Yeah, you were so unhelpful. And I got to the delivery suite, and that was about 1 o'clock. He was born at 5:03, so it was quick. For a first labour, it was pretty quick. I'd only been in the hospital 24 hours from arriving for my induction, which I didn't have, by the way. I went in completely spontaneous labour without any help. And I'm so glad that it took so long for them to get the medication, because I was going to have the pessary and be inducted that way. But it took that long to get it prescribed because the NHS, I hate to say it, but they're not great. I never got it. I just went into labour on my own. So it was a spontaneous labour. So swapped midwife again, different midwife again. She was like the fourth midwife that I'd seen in the space of 24 hours. She didn't say a word to me. They got me into a hospital gown. Bearing in mind, I was in agony at this point. I was thinking, I can't get myself changed. My other half had to put me into this hospital gown. Got on the bed, and then she did the thing that I really didn't want her to do. She started winding the stirrups up on the bed. I'm there on the gas and air. I was like, "No, don't do that." She's like, "What? What?" I was like, "Don't put my legs in stirrups." She didn't ask me if you could do that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to give birth like that. Ideally, I don't want to give birth on my back. I do not want my legs in stirrups. She was like, okay, sorry. She put them back down. So I've been put in the gown that I'm in, and I know now it's because they were fully expecting me to have to go down for a C-section. Nothing wrong with baby. Nothing wrong with me. Again, just an assumption because of my BMI and my weight.
Yeah. That's so interesting too, because you usually hear, especially with the midwifery side, that they're a little more open to like giving birth in different positions and being able to give birth naturally if at all possible. Like you said, if there's medical things, that's one thing. But that's interesting that they were like, nope, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah. So on the delivery suite rather than the midwifery suite, it's so medical.
Mm.
Like they put me into the gown. They put a cannula in me. I can't even remember them doing that. And they just fully expected me to have to go down for a C-section, all because I'm not a skinny mini. Just because I'm a plus size
Yeah.
woman, it was you will end up going for a C-section, but I didn't. I did it all on my own. So
Yep. And good for you that even in the thick of labor, in the thick of contractions, you were able to advocate for yourself, like, no, we're not doing this.
yeah.
Like, we're gonna do this position and whatnot. So did the gas and air give you some relief, or had you considered other pain medication?
So gas and air was always going to be my first option. And it
Mm.
is absolutely the best thing I have ever consumed in my entire life. It was brilliant. So for me, it went gas and air. I'd done all my hypnobirthing. It wasn't working anymore. So it was Hypnobirthing, gas and air, pethidine, and then absolute last resort epidural. I knew, it was only personal preference. I knew I did not want an epidural. Purely for the fact the size of the needle absolutely terrifies me. I couldn't do it. But I did it all on gas and air. But towards the end, I literally looked at her and I was like, "Can I have some more pain relief?" And she was like, "Yeah, epidural." I said, "No." I was like, I'll have pethidine." She walks over to her computer and I said to her, I was like, "Never mind, he's coming." She's like, "Are you sure?" I says, "Yeah, I'm sure." She lifts up the sheet. She's like, "Oh yeah, he's crowning. His head's out. He's coming." My other half looks. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's coming." I'm thinking, I know that. I feel like I'm levitating off the bed. But I was so lucky in that I didn't push either of my kids out. My body literally just did it itself. They came on their own accord and my body did exactly what it needed to do.
That's amazing. It's like the fetal ejection reflex where if you let it
Yeah.
go long enough, your body's gonna know what to do.
Yeah, 100%. But it just made me laugh that her first instinct when I've asked for more pain relief is to go, "Oh, epidural." Absolutely not. If you think I can sit still long enough for an epidural, you're wrong. Because
Yeah,
I
especially
can't.
that far along. Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't realise how far along I was.
Yeah.
She didn't realise because she didn't check me very often. She checked me, so I had my waters ruptured. They did it for me to speed labour along. Um, if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have let them do that. But they did it, and it did speed labour along quite a bit. But that was the last time I was checked. So they did that, and every time I made any sort of noise, she just kept going, "Use the gas, use the gas." And I thought, "I'm in labour here, woman." And then once he was born, you know what she turned around and said? She goes, "When I have kids, I hope I can labour like you." And I thought, hang on a minute. You're shouting at me for making any noise. You've basically told me to shut up and use the gas, and you haven't had any children yourself. I don't think that's very fair.
Right. Then you're like, well, I hope you don't have a labor like mine. I hope it is way more painful.
Yeah, because she was not supportive in the slightest.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe she will remember that when she goes on to have her own kids. If she does, she'll be like, "Ooh, I told that girl that she just needed to settle down and use the gas and air, but it's a lot harder than I thought."
Yeah.
So, were they happy to have you kind of birth in any position, or what position did you end up birthing him in?
I ended up birthing him on my back. And that was purely my own choice because once I'd got on that bed with that gas and air, I couldn't move. That's it. I was on that bed. I got the gas and air in one hand. My other half was holding my other hand, and I couldn't move. I was like, right, okay, he's coming in this position whether I like it or not. Because if I think the thing with the gas and air is it makes you feel so on top of the world, but also, you know, the only way I can describe it, when you've been out and you've had quite a bit to drink, you're sitting on the toilet in the pub, and you think, wow, I'm really drunk, but you feel invincible. That is the only way I can describe the feeling of gas and air. But then also, if you move too quickly, you think, oh, I might be sick. That's how it made me feel. So I couldn't move once I was on the bed and on it anyway.
So, once you were able to kind of push him out super easily, were they able to bring him straight to you, or how were those early moments postpartum?
So luckily, I'd got my birth plan and I wanted instant skin to skin. He was out. She caught him. He literally just shot out. I can't even describe how quickly he came out. She caught him at the end of the bed, and it's a good job she did because otherwise he'd have been taking me and my placenta with him, I think. And I had that initial skin to skin, and there's a picture of me literally just after having him, and I just looked terrified. It's not because of what I've just done, but it's because I'm thinking, wow, I didn't think about this bit. I was that scared of labour and actually doing it. I hadn't processed that I'm going to have a little tiny baby and I'm going to have to look after it. And not only that, I'm going to have to look after it for the next 20 years and keep it safe, fed, and alive. All I was blindsided by was labour and the pain because that's all anybody ever speaks to you about. It shocked me, but that picture makes me laugh because I just look terrified.
And especially with, like, your first, you don't have anything to compare it to. With how quickly you went, it's like a very fast transition to not having a baby to having a baby. If you had been in
Yeah.
the hospital for hours and hours, you probably would have been like, "Okay, thank God he's here." Well, thank
Yeah.
God he's here anyways, but for it to move that fast is is a big shock.
Yeah, it was.
So did you get that skin to skin time?
Yeah, I got skin to skin. I did have a second-degree tear, so they had to sort that out and stitch me up. But I was so weak, like, after it, that I couldn't hold him. And obviously, I was being stitched up anyway, so I didn't really wanna hold him while I was being stitched up, so I passed him to his dad. Um, and then I had my stitches done, and that wasn't as painful as I thought it would be either. But I did have that initial, like, the initial bonding time. Yeah, and then that was over pretty quickly before it was like, "Right, we need to check you." I was all, "Great, okay, go on then."
Had you given any thought to how you wanted to try to feed him, if you were gonna attempt breastfeeding, or how did that go?
So I always knew that I wanted to give breastfeeding a go. He latched at first, and then afterwards he wouldn't latch. Luckily, I had collected so much colostrum that it wasn't an issue, and I took the little Kendamil ready-to-feed bottles as well. So he ended up being combi fed, um, for for the first week or so, I think, and then I started exclusively pumping, and I did that with him for 4 months until transitioning him over to formula.
That's great. The exclusive pumpers, I always tell people it's not for the faint of heart, but that's great that you made it that long and then were able to supplement after that with formula.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else postpartum? Like, was your healing pretty good postpartum?
Healing was actually amazing. It was not as bad as I thought. The worst thing, and everyone says it, but the worst thing after having a baby is that first poo. If you've had stitches, whether you've had a cesarean or whether you've been stitched down below, that first poo is going to be worse than giving birth. And I don't say that to scare anybody because I don't believe in scaring people. I think labour's great. It can be so much fun. But that first poo is unreal. And my advice would be don't take the codeine because no one tells you that makes you constipated. I didn't go. I know you said no TMI, but I'll tell you. I didn't go to the toilet for 10 days after having my little boy. And I remember thinking, I'm going to have to go back to the doctors because I'm pretty regular anyway. So 10 days, that's a very long time. Um, but my healing, like my stitches, they heal great. I cannot recommend getting a peri bottle enough. I think Laniso, they do a really good one, little purple one. Amazing. Spritz for Bits. Do you get that out there? Midwife experts or MG. If you can get your hands on that, absolutely amazing. So it's like this spray, and you can put it onto like a big maternity pad, or you can spray it directly on. But it helps you. I don't know if it helps you heal, but it's just soothing. And it's the best thing that I could have used. So I just used Spritz for Bits, and my peri bottle, and I think I was healed within about 3 weeks. So it wasn't too bad.
That's great healing overall. I'll try to find it and we'll link to it if we can find it. I know
Yeah,
when we were going through and I was making all of like the pad sickles that I didn't end up using anyways because I had a C-section, unfortunately. But we have Dermaplast, which is kind of a spray similar to that, where it's like a cooling, soothing spray. So I
yeah,
wonder if it's similar.
might
But yeah,
be.
we'll link to that below if we can find it.
Yeah,
And absolutely with the first poop, I 100% agree. And ours, like, as soon as we were in the hospital, they had started me on a stool softener. So thankfully, like, I got that preemptively and I'd heard that too. So notes for for other ladies, if you're going through that, it's okay to go ahead and start taking a stool softener so it's
yeah.
not so traumatic.
It won't hurt anything. You will thank
Yep.
yourself.
Yep, absolutely. So what is the age gap between your son and your daughter?
Exactly 2 years and 3 weeks.
And were y'all planning to conceive her when you did?
Yeah. So I knew that I didn't want a big age gap. Initially, I only wanted 1 kid. And then I was like, "Oh, actually, that wasn't that bad. I'll do that again." Um, yeah, so I knew I didn't want a big age gap. And to be honest, I thought it'd take longer than it did again. But it did. It took about 4 or 5 months, I think, with my little girl. Um, but she soon came along.
And so was it the same thing? Like, did you have a dream this time, or how did you find out you were pregnant the second go round?
I didn't have a dream, but I just knew when I woke up that morning. I just woke up and I was like, I'm pregnant. He's like, what do you mean you're pregnant? I was like, didn't have a dream, but I'm pregnant. Went and did a test. I was like, told you. And he was just in bed with our little boy. And he was like, wow, okay, that's it. Then we'll go again. My little boy was only about 18 months when I fell pregnant. So it really did feel like, wow, okay, we're going again.
So talk us through those early days of pregnancy. We kind of knew what to expect a little bit this time. So did you call your GP and kind of get that process started again?
Yeah, called my GP, got everything started again. I was more sick this time. I was a lot more sick with her than I was. Well, I wasn't. I think I was sick about 5 times with him. I was definitely more sick with my little girl. Um, but I got the process going again. I knew what to expect this time, which made me feel a lot better. But I'd started a new job in the October, and I found out I was pregnant in the February. So obviously, I was worrying about telling them. I thought, I know, I'm gonna have to tell him that I'm pregnant and I'm gonna be going on maternity leave again. But once it had all got started, it was fine.
And were you happy to go see? You said you had the same midwife for your second as well.
Yeah. So I got there and I thought, right, okay, we'll see whose name comes up on the screen. And I was like, oh, can Jade go to Shelley? And I was like, oh, so it's the same midwife. She remembered me when I walked in. She's like, oh, hello. I was like, hi, it's me again. So that was really nice because it was just like another friendly face. And I thought, oh, okay, I just felt at ease straight away because I was worrying. Because the thing is, you never know if you're going to get the same midwife. You don't have the same doctor in the UK. You'll see a different doctor every time you go. So to see her was such a relief. It was lovely.
Yeah. Like you said, just to have a familiar face through this process is a super exciting thing. Did you have in your mind, because they had marked you high risk the first pregnancy, was that kind of in the forefront of your mind this time, or how did those conversations go?
100%. It was in the forefront of my mind, but I never brought it up because I just thought if there's any issues, I know that she'll tell me. Um, and I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any symptoms. They booked the standard glucose test at my 24 weeks. I pushed back at the beginning. Said, I don't want it. I said, I didn't have it with my first. What makes you think I'm going to have it with my second? I don't want to go. She went, just think about it. She says, and on your next appointment, when you come back at I think it's 20 weeks, you don't see your midwife for ages. You see them less on your second pregnancy as well. And I was like, okay, I'll have it just in case. But the first time I did the glucose test, I was really poorly. It was really hot. I mean, I don't know what this temperature will work out to you guys, but it was like 27 degrees in July with my first glucose test. It was
It's very
absolutely
hot,
roasting. I'm sat
especially
out
for
in
the
my
UK.
car. It is for the UK,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sat out in my car because they said to me, oh, you can go and sit and wait in your car. And I'm thinking, okay, drank my drink. I'm going to sit in my car for 2 hours, sit and doom scroll for a bit or something. I'm with my mum. I took my mum with me for moral support. And I'm sitting there. I've got this little timer that they've given me. I've got I think it was 15 minutes left on my timer. I look at my mum and I'm like, I feel very well. And she's like, okay, are you sure you're going to be all right? I was like, no, I think I'm going to be sick. I opened my car door and I was just sick all between my car and this other car. So second time round, I'm here I don't want to go and do this. It made me feel bad before. I don't think I need it. Luckily, second glucose test was much better. I mean, obviously my outcome wasn't, but the whole sort of system has sort of changed a little bit. And you go in, you drink your drink, you just sit there for 2 hours. I'm sat there with my little podcast on, having a little listen to Luana for 2 hours. Didn't think anything of it. I was quite confident. I was like, I'm not going to have it. That was the 30th of June. Go to work the next day. They're like, if you don't hear from us, you haven't got it. Went to work the next day. My phone rings. No caller ID. I'm like, oh, God. I answer the phone. She's like, hello, is that Jade? I'm like, yeah. I'm really sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, but you've failed your glucose test. You've got gestational diabetes. I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional person. I think emotion first, logic after. I'm there, I'm crying on the phone at work. I'm like, okay, what does that mean for my birth? She goes, probably C-section. I'm like, hysteric at this point. I go home from work. I'm like, "Oh, I'm going home. I'll go and work from home. I just can't be here anymore." Um, so I was very dramatic about my diagnosis, definitely. But I am very dramatic, so that's okay.
Yeah, and for her to initially jump, so who was it that delivered the news? Was it the midwife or it was another just person from the hospital system?
She's just another person from the hospital system, and I found that out after. And then, because I spoke to one of my friends that is a midwife, she's like, "She can't tell you that." I'm there thinking, "Okay, I feel a bit better now." But still, she told me I've got to have a C-section, so I instantly panicked.
I mean, one, she's probably not qualified to deliver that
No?
information. And two, the fact that you jumped straight to a C-section because of a gestational diabetes diagnosis, that's kind of a far-fetched jump.
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy. But again, that's so emotional. Like you find out this thing that you didn't have to go through for your first pregnancy. And I know obviously looking back, that sparked something like a passion of yours to be able to talk about it. So talk us through those early days of finding out you did have gestational diabetes. Did they give you any like recommendations of care or what you should be doing, or did you have to come back for another appointment?
So you get your initial diagnosis, and then that's it. You're on your own until your appointment, which is in about a week. So I'm thinking, right, you've given me this diagnosis. You've not told me anything at all. You haven't told me sort of what foods I should be avoiding, what's bad for me. Obviously, I know sugar with diabetes is absolute no go. But you're not telling me, like, I didn't know it's so complex, which I'll probably go into in a bit. But like carbohydrates, I didn't know any of that. So I'm there frantically Dr. Googling. And I thought, oh, well, I'm going to go onto Facebook and find some groups. There's only one big one. And I don't know if it's just a UK group, but they were so good. And I was so glad that I found them when I did, because I found the Facebook group, I spoke to people that had been through the same sort of thing as me. Um, and I just got chatting with so many different mums that had all been diagnosed. And then I had my appointment then, like the following week, which is you get your little monitor, you get your blood test strips and your little finger prick set, and then they sort of give you the whole, you shouldn't eat this, but you should eat this. And all I can say is the guidance from the NHS for foods that you can eat with gestational diabetes is so outdated that your best thing to do is do your own research. Because in that, you go into like a group meeting. I don't know if every trust is the same, but we had like a group meeting where they did this big, it's like being back in school. They did this big PowerPoint. You've got, you should eat Weetabix. Well, no, you shouldn't, because now I know it's full of carbohydrates, which spikes blood sugars. And you can eat this, but make sure you pair it with this. I can't even remember what they show you now, but there's so much, and it's like they almost make it carb heavy. It's almost like they set you up to fail, which is so disappointing, because so many people, I think, end up on medication and feel like they're failing, and a lot of people just go by what they're told, which is the way a lot of people are. I don't. I will go and I will read about everything. I will investigate everything that I can, because I have to. I need to know everything about everything. Once I've got a diagnosis of something, I have to know absolutely everything that I can about it.
And I think that's a good point of like you want to feel like you can trust these medical providers and these systems, but sometimes the research is outdated. And now sometimes medical professionals are great about it, but I think it is so important to do your research so you can be informed to be able to make the decisions, like your past experience with declining the induction, or like some moms especially here don't know that you can decline the glucose test and then do your blood sugars, like monitor with a finger prick instead of that. So being able to do at least a little bit of research so you know your options and what you can actually ask for.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to do the extra research and talk to people. Don't just go blindsided by what everyone, like the medical professionals, tell you. Talk to real people that have experienced it, because I think that helped me massively, which I think is what then ignited a passion in me for supporting people with gestational diabetes.
So once you got your finger prick set, how often were you having to check your blood sugars? Was it after every meal or what did that look like?
So you have to do 4 lots of readings a day. So you do your fasting reading, which is as soon as you wake up, wash your hands, do your finger prick test, and then that'll be a fasting reading. So for my trust, it had to be under 5.3. My fasting reading was only over twice, maybe. And then you then test an hour after each meal. But in some trusts, they test 2 hours after each meal. But mine was an hour after each meal, and my reading had to be under 7.8 for it to be within range. And I was really lucky that I managed to stay diet controlled throughout and never had to be medicated for it.
That's great. And was that through, you think, being able to do your own research on what foods to try to avoid the most?
100%. And it's basically, it's just a keto diet. That's all it is. High fat, high protein, very little carb. You can't cut out your carbs completely because, especially when you're pregnant, you need them to run. Your body won't run without them. Or it starts eating itself and you end up with ketones in your wee, which I did once. And that was only once because I hadn't had anything to eat at that appointment and they sent me to the hospital to get checked, but I knew I was okay.
You're like, I just didn't eat breakfast. It's fine. So, throughout the rest of pregnancy, I know you kind of managed diet control. Did you have any other symptoms apart from the gestational diabetes?
No, I didn't. To be fair, I questioned whether I'd actually got gestational diabetes because I didn't have any symptoms. And they do say that you don't have any, but you can have X, Y, and Z. Um, but I don't know if it's because I was so meticulous with my diet control that I never had any spikes. I had about 3 in the whole pregnancy. Um, so I didn't have any symptoms whatsoever.
That's great. And to be a testament that it absolutely can be diet controlled in some situations, even if you do have it early on, that
Yeah.
you're not always destined to have to take insulin or whatever medication.
Yeah, it is hormonal, so it is down to the placenta. But I think if you can be really sort of into it, then there's no reason why you can't at least try and be diet controlled. You can go without
Yep.
the refined sugar for a couple of months. It won't kill you. It does you the world of good, actually.
Yep, for sure. So once you kind of had that diagnosis, had your plan throughout, did you go back and talk to your midwife about them telling you like, "Oh, this means you're gonna have a C-section," or how did the conversation go around type of labor and delivery?
So I went straight to my midwife at my next appointment. I was like, they've said that I've got to have a C-section. She's like, no, absolutely not. You don't need to do that. I was like, okay, so what are my options then? I said, because obviously with my little boy, there was a lot of, you can't do this and you can't do that. She's like, oh, it's very different now. So it'd come a long way in the 2 years and it had become very women focused, not necessarily the medical side of being focused. She said, so I can book you an appointment with the consultant midwife. I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. What does she do? So her name was Akila. She was incredible. So she did a birth plan with me. She went through all of my options, the risks, the pros, the cons to things. And she then like talked to me about having my water birth. And I told her about my last experience and she's like, no, she's like, we'll advocate for you. You can rest assured in knowing that we'll advocate the best we can. As long as everything's available, you will have your water birth. I didn't get my water birth in the end because she came out so quickly that the pool was still filling up. So I never got there, but never mind.
But at least it was an option, and at least they had your back this time of like, "Okay, we're gonna advocate if that's something that you want." That's super great.
Yeah.
So, as you moved through, did this one become a spontaneous labor again, or did they ever bring up induction again?
Induction was mentioned because of my gestational diabetes. But I was diet controlled. So there was no reason why they wouldn't let me go to 40 and 6. That's like the guideline, the maximum guideline. So it was mentioned because of that, but I never ended up needing it because I had a sweep 10 o'clock in the morning. And by 10 o'clock on the night, I was ready to give birth.
That is a very quick
It
turnaround.
was.
And how many weeks were you when you had the sweep?
I was 40 and 1. So my little boy came on his due date and she came the day after her due date, which is nice. I do wish she came on her due date. I had my sweep at 10 o'clock in the morning. Started to get contractions at about 5, but just ignored them. My friend came over for some dinner with me and my other half. Luckily, she was our lift to the hospital, so it was a good job she was here. I put my little boy to bed, and I cried putting him to bed that night, knowing it was the last time I was going to do it, and it'd be just me and him. And as soon as he'd gone to bed, it was like my body went, "Yep, we're going."
It's go
I locked
time.
myself. I locked myself in the downstairs toilet. I said to my other half and my mate, I was like, "I can't do dinner. You two are gonna have to do it. I can't stand up." Locked myself in the downstairs toilet. Same thing again. Running my hand under the cold tap, distracting myself. I text my mum saying like, "I think it might be tonight." She's like, "Do you think you ought to ring the hospital, let them know?" I was like, "Nah, I'm all right at the minute." An hour later, I'm on the phone. "I think I need to come in." They're like, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll get you in. Got you on your birth plan, you're down for a water birth." And I was thinking, yes, thank you. She's like, "So we'll start to get the room ready. It's just being used at the minute." Sorry.
You're fine.
Hey. Yeah, so they had it on file, which I was like, "Oh, thank God for that." They've actually, like, they've acknowledged the fact that I won my water birth. She's like, "It's just being used at the minute. It's just being cleaned up." I was thinking, okay, so it's available, like, it's there. We can actually use it. I get there, I'm triaged. They're like, "Oh, you're 5 centimeters. You can go straight down to, like, the delivery room." And I get there, and they're like, "You're gonna have to wait in this room. The pool's just filling up. We've just cleaned it. We're gonna have to fill it." I think they said they take, like, 40 minutes to fill. So I'm thinking, okay. Test my wee, that's all fine. Chatting away to my midwife. In between contractions, I'm absolutely fine. Didn't have any issues. Just having a good little natter with her. I got comfy. She's like, "I'm just gonna check you again because you seem quite a bit in pain." So I couldn't sit down. She's like, "Okay." She's like, "You I can't remember how dilated I was, but I was quite far along." And again, I didn't want to birth on my back. I was convinced I was gonna birth on all fours or on my knees. But I sat down and got comfy again, and I thought, I ain't getting back up.
And did you have the gas and air again at this point, or you wouldn't have anything?
Yeah, as soon as I got into that room, which is funny because it was the room that they put me in the first time with my little boy, that lovely midwifery room with the pretty twinkly lights on the ceiling. I finally got to have my birth in there. So
It
I'm
was
there with
just
the gas and air.
foreshadowing with the first birth.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. She gave me the gas and air, and I thought, well, I can't move. The lead midwife comes in, different lead midwife this time. She was lovely. She checks me and she's like, "We're just filling up the pool." She's like, "But I'm leaning on the bed, like I'm hanging off the bed at this point." She's like, "You need to like get comfortable." She's like, "Because if you don't get a chance to get in the pool, that baby's coming." And I'm thinking, okay, I can do that. And I got comfortable on my back again, didn't I? I couldn't move again after that. The gas in there just does something to me that makes me not want to move. So I'm just there on my back, and I'm getting really strong contractions. But the noise that I made this time round, because she didn't tell me to shut up, I think that really helped because I've got to be almost like primal. And I've never made a noise like that. And I don't think I'll ever make a noise like that again. But my other half was like, he's like, "I could not believe the noise that come out of you. It literally sounded like an animal." And it wasn't because I was in pain, it's because it was helping.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that natural instinct.
Yeah. Everyone goes on
Mhm.
about mooing. I wasn't mooing. I don't know what I was doing, but I weren't mooing. And yeah, she literally shot out again. But with her, I didn't have to ask for extra pain relief. I think because 'cause I'd done it so recently, my body, like, almost had muscle memory. So I'd only done it within the past 2 years, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that long really. But I was in full blown labour and my waters didn't go until her head come out. So I'm there worrying about my waters, and poor student midwife that was in with my midwife got soaked. Because I remember thinking, my waters haven't gone. I can't give birth if my waters haven't gone, surely. But as her head come out, they just went everywhere. I've never known anything like it.
So they were there to catch the baby and they were in the splash zone.
Yeah, luckily she didn't shoot out as fast as my little boy did. I could feel her crowning, and I remembered something that I'd read And it was like, if your contraction stops whilst you're crowning, don't worry. It gives you time to stretch so you don't tear. So I just remember thinking, it burns, but I know it'll be over soon. I didn't tear.
Oh,
So I think
wow.
that initial allowing you to stretch helped.
Yeah, and it going a little bit slower.
Yeah. And then she just shot out.
And so same thing with her, were they able to give her straight to you and have that kind of bonding time?
Yeah. I didn't have to wear a clinical gown. I had no cannula on because I was on that midwifery-led unit this time. It felt so much more relaxed and it was just so lovely. And it just, we didn't even have, she came that quickly because I was so relaxed. We didn't even have a chance to like set up the whole room. Now we're very much into like our country music and just music in general, but country music is everything. So my other half's there, scrolling through his playlist, thinking what should I put on? But at the time we were really into Zach Top, still are. Saw him a couple of weeks ago, absolutely love him. So he puts it on. And I just remember thinking he's banged this song on. I remember thinking, I wonder what she's been born to. So she was born to Zach Top, which I love.
Oh, that's so cute.
And I genuinely think the environment, because it was so non-clinical, it really helped. It's such a different experience. It's lovely.
Yeah, and it allows you to kind of relax into things. I feel like with your first birth, like you said, you saw that room, you thought you were gonna get settled in, and then they move you, and then it was like kind of thing after thing that just kind of disrupted the flow, even though it did go relatively well with the second, with you being able to just kind of relax into it and knowing that because they've changed the model of care a little bit, that they're gonna advocate for you and not try to push you into something that you're not necessarily wanting. I think that absolutely does give a better overall environment to give birth into.
Yeah, it's all about your environment and your mindset. If you can get them
For
two things
sure.
nailed, you are saving yourself a hell of a lot of trouble in the long run.
Yep, absolutely. So talk us through those early couple hours postpartum. Were you gonna give breastfeeding a go again this time?
I knew this time that I wanted to exclusively pump. So I'd got my colostrum because I knew I wanted to take my colostrum to the hospital anyway. But with gestational diabetes, they really recommend it because it can help babies' blood sugars in their first day of life. So I had her, I fed her some syringes of colostrum. I think after her first feed, they did the blood sugars. And then I had to have mine monitored for like the day before they let me out. But I still got to have my initial skin to skin. And everything just felt so much better this time around. I didn't feel rushed out of my room or anything. It was just lovely. But I still had my initial skin to skin, the feed, and then my shower.
And that first shower is like everything.
It was great. It was lovely.
So did they have to drain the birth tub since you didn't get to use it?
Yeah, but luckily, because I didn't get to use it, my consultant midwife, Akila, she got to do this thing. I can't remember what it's called. It's like I think she called it the rebirth program. So because I didn't get the birth I wanted, because it happened so quickly, she actually took me into the room where I should have given birth, walked me around and sort of taught me through everything, which was really lovely because it's like, okay, I
Hmm.
didn't get that, but this is what you could have won.
Yeah. I feel like it could either go 2 ways, like, people be like, "Oh, man, like, I really missed out on this," or it can be kind of like an overview of, like, here's how everything went, like they tried in a way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's super cool. And so how long did you stay at the hospital?
So I had to stay for 24 hours from giving birth. I had to stay 24 hours from then, which was so frustrating because they monitor your blood sugars, I think it's twice after you give birth. After your first meal, and then again, I think. I can't remember. It's only been a few months ago, but baby brain's real. Um, so they monitored my blood sugars, and then they did my little girl's blood sugars. But I obviously, if you haven't picked up by now, push back. I was like, I want to go home. I want to talk to a doctor because you're doing my blood sugars, but what are you going to do about it if they're over anyway? Because they can be all over the place after birth. Once you've given birth to the placenta, your gestational diabetes is gone. So I couldn't get my head around why are you doing this to me? I could
Yeah.
understand them wanting to check my little girls because obviously it all passes through the placenta, but hers were fine after feeds, after the initial 2 or 3 checks. But they were done by midday. says, I want to go home. But no, I had to stay my full 24 hours. And looking back, I appreciate the 24 hours because I wasn't running around at home and being
With a
climbed all
toddler.
over.
Yeah.
But at the time, I just remember thinking, I want to go.
Yeah, to be in your own space again.
Yep.
So how was the first few days home introducing your toddler to the new baby? How did all of that go?
He was incredible. I was so worried. But he came in that morning and he looked at the next to me car and he just walked in and went, "Baby." And I was like, "Oh, is that how it's gonna be?" And he was fine, and now he adores her. There has not been an ounce of jealousy from him. Like, I can't big this kid up enough. I'm biased because he's mine, but he is the best toddler I've ever met. He's been so accepting of her, and he's never once shown any little bit of jealousy or that he's feeling like he's competing for me. And he just walks around and he just calls her baby bum. That's her name now, baby bum.
That's so sweet. So I know we mentioned a little bit. So you going through the diagnosis and research of gestational diabetes, it kind of lit something in you that made you very passionate about that. Do you want to talk about kind of what you've started and get into that a little bit?
I knew as soon as I'd sort of sat and thought about it for a while, there's nothing really out there apart from that one group that I found. It's so hard to find somewhere with the information and the knowledge and the people that you need alongside you with gestational diabetes. Now, I don't know anyone with just diabetes in my life, never mind anyone with gestational diabetes. But now I know loads of people with it because the Facebook group that I joined then sparked something in me to be like, oh, okay, I could talk about this. I could talk about birth and having gestational diabetes. And that is where I created my little Instagram, which is balancedmama.uk. Little plug there. And hopefully by the time this goes out, I will have launched my gestational diabetes planner. So I'm a very visual person. I like to take notes of everything. So when I was doing my blood sugars, it was sending them to the app on my phone, which I then had to show my consultant, which is great, but that's all I used it for was just my readings. But now I have created something where you can actually do like a food diary with all your readings and keep track of what's actually spiking your blood sugars. And if you're someone that loves to take notes like me, I think it'll be really helpful because I knew in the end that I couldn't eat bagels. Even it doesn't matter how well I paired them, whether I paired them with loads of fat, loads of protein, I couldn't eat them anymore. But I only knew that because I was writing everything down in my phone. But I think if I'd have had a little planner to put everything in, a little journal, it would have made my life a lot easier. So I have created a little gestational diabetes planner.
I am also a very visual person. I joke when we were tracking our ovulation, I had like all of my strips taped in a notebook, and my husband was like, "That's gross. You peed on that." And I'm like, "But I need something that's in front of me that I can see." And so, especially going through a gestational diabetes journey, like you said, it's great to know your numbers and it's great to keep track of your readings. But the more important thing is if you are having like large spikes or things that are spiking it, it's important to know what actually caused that, because if you're managing it, especially diet wise, that's the info you need to know. So I think that's great to have something that's concise that you can have and look at and be like, okay, this day I had this meal and my blood sugar spiked. Let's try to avoid that. Or I was worried about this meal and it actually didn't spike my blood sugar. So I can continue
Yeah.
to have that kind of thing. So I think that is so great in that you're creating a platform where there still is a lot of stigma and misinformation around it. So that's super great.
Yeah. And there is also somewhere. So if you are medicated, if you are on metformin or if you are on insulin, there is somewhere for you to keep track of like your medication and sort of what you've had that day. Um, but I just think it would be very helpful. to be able to do that.
We will link below to your Instagram page where you are sharing like resources so that people can check it out and reach out to you. I know you've been a great resource as far as sharing both of your different birth experiences as a plus size woman. So we really appreciate you being open and vulnerable and sharing those journeys. And yeah, we will talk to you on the next time, Jade.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. If you enjoyed this episode and want more stories just like this one, please be sure to like and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you have a moment, please consider leaving us a positive review wherever you're listening to this show. These reviews are the best way for the algorithm to push out our show and get us in front of other plus-size moms who may be looking for a community like this one. Your kind words can help make sure that no one has to go through this journey alone. If you are a fellow plus-size mom and would be interested in sharing your story, please reach out to us at biggerthanbirthpodcast@gmail.com. Use the subject line, "Share My Story," and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Want to put a face to a voice? Head over to any of our social media pages linked in the show notes below to see more photos of today's guest. Any resources or topics discussed in today's episodes will also be linked below. Thanks again for being a part of the Bigger Than Birth community, and we will see you next week. Bye!